It has been a big week for the auto stocks and those affiliated with it. You got Uber just having its best day ever, reporting better than expected results. The company also laying out a new roadmap to profitability. Flip side, Ford stalling out this week after missing earnings estimates. The stock also taking a hit today after the automaker announced a leadership shakeup. And then there is Tesla. That stock went on a total joyride this week.
Oh, my goodness.
Up and down.
Hi.
The electric car maker having its biggest one-day gain in 6 years Monday before cratering back down to earth. So buckle up, folks, to hit the road and find out if any of these car stocks should be in your portfolio. Guy, what do you think?
Well, listen, I'm not going to go down the Tesla route because I've been grim death with that one. And Ford, the stock has been just abysmal. But the one that looks the most interesting out of the three that we just talked about is General Motors. Dan Nathan, who appears on this show from time to time, does a great job, did a power pitch for GM the other night, and it made a lot of sense. I think you can trade it on the long side against the low we saw in May, around 31.5, 32. We can talk about valuation, although quite frankly, I don't think that matters. But if they can get this whole EV thing right, which they might be on the verge of, I think the risk reward at these levels makes a little bit of sense.
Is it a long-term buy and hold kind of stock or a trading stock?
I think if you get it right here, if you somehow can hold this 32 level, it could potentially be a General Electric for Steve and for Tim, that type of thing.
So if you look at that chart, though, that they just had up in GM, I just still see a lower trend line.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's a terrible trend line. They're all chasing on the EV front. They are all chasing Tesla.
Yeah.
They're revamping. They're restructuring. It's not over yet. You're going to have time to buy this stuff.
And listen, traditional automakers, if you want to call them that, it's a lot of bifurcation. Nissan's making 7-year lows. Toyota's making all-time highs. I mean, it's just you got to get the right one. But there are themes in the auto patch that obviously are very important going forward.
Tim, thought on GM?
Well, I like GM.
Or the car stocks.
Just to be clear, I mean, did we refer to GM as GE? Did you?
No. I said GM could be the same situation that GE finds itself in now.
That's okay. You did say that.
I did.
No, that's absurd.
Yeah.
It's not even close to GE proportions. I realize the stock has been kind of sideways. This company's had record earnings. This stock trades, first of all, it trades as cheap as it ever has, and maybe that should tell you something. But to me, I think they're actually doing things right at GM. I think actually they're going to have an autonomous business and a robo-taxi business, and I think they're reasonably well positioned. If we want to anoint Tesla the head of the pack, I think the market has already done that. That's fine. I think you've got a dynamic where GE, first of all, one of the reasons why this company put itself at odds with the White House is that it's running itself much more efficiency. It's certainly focusing on its most profitable vehicles, which we know are SUVs and pickup trucks. And I think they are well positioned on technology. This has been a long-term holding of mine. The valuation is very good. It's a solid dividend yield. The balance sheet's, I think, as strong as it's ever been. So I know you aren't doing this, but I mean, this isn't a broken story like GE. It's not even close.
Right. It's not even close because GE is up 15% and GM is down 8%. So I think what Guy was talking about was a turnaround sort of haze over the halo that you could have over it. I don't see it happening just yet. They've decided to move away from sedans. No one buys the sedan. Everyone wants to buy an SUV. So I think there's some innings left in the turnaround story. You don't have to rush out and buy
So
these
far,
things.
Tesla has been in a one-horse race here in electric vehicles, right? I mean,
well, in terms of the stocks, yes, but the competition has been out there for a while now.
It's
but quickly,
been there, but they haven't nibbled all that much at them.
I think they're going to come quick. But in terms of GM quickly, I mean, you could make an argument that the last 10 years has been sort of the best decade for car sales maybe ever in the history of the United States.
Sure.
The stock market's only gone up. Close it today, we're within 1.5% of an all-time high. Yet GM, the stock, is the exact same price it was 5 years ago. So although maybe the company is in terms of record profits and those types of things, you can make that argument. The stock has been awful. I guess that was my comparison.
Let's remember that when this whole thing started, the only competition that Tesla had was the Toyota Prius. It was a terrible looking vehicle. Now they've all come really far. But I think we still gauge auto companies, true auto companies, to a higher mark on fundamentals than we do Tesla. Tesla has the luxury of
let's
doing
get
everything.
a quick thought on Ford before I banish you over to the telestrator.
Yeah, it's worse than GM.
Yeah.
Meaning it's not just this you are electric or you aren't, again, because then that wouldn't account for Toyota being at all-time highs, why Mazda and Nissan are making 7-8-year lows. So it has to do with, obviously, your operating prospects going forward, valuation, debt, and all those things that people like to talk about. But Ford's worse than GM.
Yeah. They've just brought in a new COO, right? What's the book on him? Does anybody know?
Well, I think if you look at Ford, this is a company that also just hasn't done the difficult things with their balance sheet. Ford Credit, I think, has been a liability. It will continue to be a liability. So, that's I think the issue. This is a more complex balance sheet and kind of credit story. I think it's a stock where you have certainly seen significant underperformance over the last couple of years. And back to, is there competition for Tesla? And let's not confuse why Tesla is rallying versus, the competitive landscape for EV vehicles. Analysts, whoever's doing this, people that are covering shorts, whatever it is, are digging Tesla because they're making this into a data play. Obviously, the miles-driven dynamic that puts them so far ahead has nothing to do with people selling autonomous vehicles and being car companies. And if you look at BMW and if you look at some of the other players, Volvo's got a very competitive, I think, alternative. The competitive landscape is there. That's not why people are valuing Tesla where they are, as far as I can tell.
And quickly, Ty, before you banish one Carter Worth. You mentioned the COO, the new incoming. The only reason that Ford might have a shot now is because Jim Farley is a graduate of
G-Town.
Georgetown University.
Aren't they all?
Just throwing it out there.
Just
throwing it out there.
You know those exorcist steps that come down?
Don't even say the word,
we
please.
No,
Stop.
Did you ever run to Dixie Liquors?
Yeah.
Natty Bow. I get some kegs at Natty Bow.
Oh, yeah. See, now you jinxed us.
We used to try and run across the Key Bridge with the kegs.
How'd that work out?
I know. I'm just reminiscing.